Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I made the mistake of coming across some videos. Well, I wouldn't call it making a mistake, but it's gonna hurt. Delusions of Grandeur Workshop. Welcome. Welcome. I'm Doug. If you're new here, welcome. Hello. Hello. After watching a couple of videos, I had realized I have like everything pretty much to make like 3 or 4 of these things. And did a little research. Oh, that looks like it's wood. Looks like he might have made that out of wood, which I have not seen any wood in designs, but that does look like it's made out of wood. I have all the stuff. There's only a few things that I don't have, and they're not mandatory. Well, one is I don't have the router head, which is a unique style. I guess you could just use like a special Makita router. Makita's got a router that's supposed to be really good for CNC routers. This is a nice one. But I don't have lead screws or jack screws, the like that, the linear motion screws that will drive the carriages. And there's so many different ways to do that I really don't have to have those. Uh, Here's another example that does not use lead screws. It's pretty cool. I just dove right in. I was like, oh my god, I have all of the shit stuff. So there's a lead screw setup. You can see the screw spinning away. You'll see those like on a lathe. Every single lathe that has movable carriage that you can throw in the auto, or what they would call a threading lathe for making threads, always have a lead screw or jack screw. That is exactly what that is. It's a special thread too, called an Acme thread, and the threading taps are so super expensive. And I've never really seen anybody tap one, so I don't know. I was gonna skip the whole idea. It seems like it's almost old news now as it is, that design. There's gonna have to have a stepper motor no matter what you go with, which is just a little motor that's gonna drive the carriage, receive the instructions from your PLC, whatever you're doing. But here was an example where they just use a belt, which I thought was really clever. So you can also do this 2 different ways, where the rail will move, or you can make the rail stationary and the carriage will move and follow the belt. So that was kind of cool too. Yeah, like more than one option. And this guy, I believe, is just driving itself along on like a piece of channel. So what I don't have, and I wish I did, is a bunch of this aluminum extrude. It's probably the most expensive part of it too. It's weird that a lot of this stuff's pretty cheap, especially like servo motors now. These are like nothing. They're like $10. And you can, spend a lot and get a super fancy, nice one. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say fancy, but heavy duty, high quality. You could have, they could both have the same number, like a NEMA, 23 designation. One of them you can't even lift, and the other one's like nothing. So it's weird how it works. It's really by the size of the face. So you could have a 17-foot long motor, as long as that face is still the same. It's still just a NEMA 17 or NEMA 23 or whatever it may be. But I did have this weird electrician channel that I don't even know what it was called, and I cannot find it. I have looked for like 3 days trying to find out what this special like channel is. I really don't know. I mean, maybe somebody out there will know. Where is it? Let me find it. Oh, here's a sliver of it. So I think electricians use this for hooking up their stacks of relays and power supplies and everything hooked right to that. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Whoopsie. I just know I got it from the electrical department, so I assumed it was just for that. And I cannot seem to find anything to work with this. It's just not a very common, or it's not used for what I was trying to use it for, is what I should say, like an aluminum extrude, or what you may call it. What's the other name? Oh, I can't think of it. Let me see if I got my piece. I had always hoped to scrounge some, and I really never did. I came across like one darn piece of actual aluminum extrude, which I don't even know where I put it. I do have like a whole bunch of really big pieces of this other stuff, though. Where did I put that aluminum? Just so I could show you. A lot of these know what I'm talking about, but in case you don't, I was hoping to show you. I do have another type of aluminum that I never see anybody use. It's really, really good, but it's not for this application. And I don't even know what this stuff's called. It's just like a solid friggin' block or a beam. I got a bunch of this, which isn't really helpful in any way. I could probably make a trolleys for it. I've been trying to mess with trolleys. It's weird making homemade trolleys for all these different channels and unistruts and things like that. I can't believe I don't know where I put that extra. Well, I can't believe it. I do believe it. I've been ripping the shop apart, putting it back together every day over and over again, looking for stuff. I gotta stop doing that. Every time I rearrange, I just lose everything. Makes a mess. It was right there where oh, there it is. So this is your classic aluminum extrude. It does come in other shapes, designs, with sometimes double, triple. There'll be 1.5. They'll be stacked. There's also a type that's very similar to this here, which I don't think, what's that called? I actually have a piece now I think about it. It's almost like a aluminum fencing for like bandsaws or table saw fence. So if you want to make your own, or that, you know. Oops, sorry. Oh, here. Yeah, here it is. Oh, it started. Oh. I have super study mode on, and it doesn't do low light with super study mode on. It's a strange deal. But here's what I was talking about. It's like a aluminum fence for making your own, like what I had over there. That table saw sled fence. God, I couldn't get it out. Damn, you're gonna see you're trying to get that out. It's basically one of these things for making a fence for yourself. I don't know if that's considered aluminum extrude or not, but yeah. I have a mess. This is like the smallest little percentage of my hoarding. I didn't feel like carrying them all over here because they're fucking heavy. These are solid. These are all solid. I have tons of them. I was gonna actually use like the biggest ones too. This low light deal blows. It's just not working. So usually in low light, this camera kicks butt. It's like you can't even tell it's dark out. I took pictures that I could not see what I was taking a picture of, and it looked like daytime in the picture. It's such a trip. But with the super study mode on, it does not work. I have massive amounts of stock as far as straight up metal bars like these, all different thicknesses and sizes. Some of them are 12 feet tall, and I could barely lift them. They're so thick and heavy. Just tons of them, and I'm just not good at fabricating. So I've accumulated the crap because I never use it, basically. I mean, this is, I'm over 50. It took a while to accumulate all this, Not overnight, that's for sure. But you should see my, storage areas like my attic and garage and crawl spaces are just fucking frigging packed with stuff. But yesterday I dug a bunch of stuff out that I knew was going to be used in making anything that's going to have a movable X, Y, and X, Y axis and possibly a Z axis, which I'm hoping to do. And it was pretty cool, actually. I don't know. It's weird. I kept getting stuck because I didn't really know what I had. And then I was like, okay, so I need 4 of these, and I only found like 2. Or I was like, oh God, I need, 2 of these, and I've only got 1. And it was just like, everything was like just coming up short on stuff. But this isn't even all of it. I have more of everything. But it's going to take a lot to make a good CNC machine. I don't know if, as you saw in the one video, there's the one's got like 5 layers of bar on it. Let's see. Where is that one? For the most part, there's one that, it's going to take a lot of material to probably make one. Look at all the bar on that thing. So that's aluminum extrude, and he's not using much. He's using metal bars. There's a lead screw, which we're not using. But looking at this stuff, I have everything. I have all this stuff. Except those lead screws, which I don't have to have. And the brains, the logic. I have it, I just don't know how to use it yet. I have tons and tons of electrical components. I don't have a single idea what they do or what they are. And that's been my past couple weeks. I've basically crash coursed electrical and learning about PLCs and power supplies and stepper motors and stepper motor drivers. So you'll be programming all that crap. Stepper motors are pretty cool. I could do a whole video about those. If you don't know what they are, they're pretty interesting. And they're getting really cheap, which is nice. I have a couple that are so big I can't even lift them. They're just too heavy to be lugged for demonstrations. They're just massive, like huge industrial ones, which aren't going to work in this application anyway. That's just not going to work. I've had smaller ones for this. But I'm actually buying new ones because I'm seeing on Amazon they sell the whole kit for like $30 with 4 motors. Like, how are they doing that so cheap? I'm sure they're junky. But I can roll the dice on that. The motors won't be that hard to swap out. It'll probably take me a year or more. Who knows? I may have it done fast. Who knows? I have enough hardware to cover it. Got pretty much everything I think I'll need, except for a couple things. But most of all is a plan. I need to come up with a plan and probably put it on paper before I start. Not just shoot from the hip the whole way, winging it. I should actually have a plan drawn out. The framework and stuff. The sides that are going to have the uprights for the moving carriage and all that. I believe I have everything I need. It's all good stuff too. Wicked, thick, heavy duty. Just it was a real bear getting it all, but it was worth it. And it's paying off. Being a hoarder every now and then does pay off. I wish I knew somebody. I wish I had some goddamn friends. There's people that could probably build these with their eyes closed in their sleep. And to me, this is like building a spaceship. It's just really, to me, very complex because I've never done anything with PLCs or logic or drivers or controllers or stepper motors. I was never good at fabricating. Just the worst, really, because I never do it. I think if I did it more, you get better at anything. You do it over and over again, you'll eventually get good at it. Little tricks and tips and things stick with you. But it's hard to fabricate anything if you don't know what you got to work with. So this is a big part of this. Bearings, man, there's so many different bearings out there. And we're going to be using a lot of them, especially linear bearings, which I have never really been familiar with, except for the occasional mechanical breakdown at work. But that was just snippety snap, change it in and out. There's so many different kinds, and they're really pretty cool. I don't know, there's something about them that I really like, and I've never used one in my personal life. They're pretty simple designations as far as the sizes: 10, 12, 24, 30, 25, not 24, 25, 30. Here's an example of like a 30. So all the companies that make it, every company makes the same bearing, whether it's, FAG, SK, whatever, INAs, SKFs, they all make the same bearing. And so they will generally have the same number in there somewhere. And the size is kind of the designation with these, being like 30s are these big ones. 24 is a little smaller. 12 is even a little smaller than that. What else? Yeah, regular open style static linear bearings, mounted bearings, or as we would call these pillow bearings or pillow blocks. I do not know how they got that name, pillow, like a sleeping pillow. Generally, they're called mounted, pre-mounted, very similar like this. You can mount it yourself. It already comes in like a mount that you can mount. Here's another one, and these are expensive. These are close to $100 a piece. Luckily, I've got 50 of them, and I've never thought I'd ever use them. I'm like, when in the world am I ever gonna need to use something like that? Never. In my mind, I was like, I will never need that. I'm not building any machinery. Here's a couple stepper motors right here. In fact, well, these are actually servo motors, not stepper motors. What else? I don't know. I just kind of mess around with stuff. Also trying to match bearings and shafts and collars and shafts. I have so many, and they're standard and metric, and it's a little tricky. It was a little bit overwhelming trying to get things to work because of that. There's just so many different kinds and styles, and they're standard and metric. So it's kind of tough even doing that. Like just finding what fits on what shaft wasn't easy for me. Whoops. What else? Some people have used a lot of the plastic Delrin in their builds. It's not the strongest, but it is pretty strong. If it's thick enough, it's real strong. I think you could use that, believe it or not. I've thought of it too, but I'm not gonna. I may use it just for sliders or something. I have just so many different pieces of that crap. I need to use it up. Trying to think. Yeah, so I don't even know what this stuff really is. I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it. I know they make, like, if you went to a hospital and they've got monitors and crap hanging from the walls or the ceilings, it'd be, the mount would be built out of this stuff. I think it was called Hoffman. I have this gigantic thing. I should probably pull it out. It's pretty cool, but it's buried actually. It's like an arm that you could hook a monitor to, or any piece of equipment really. And it's like a swing arm, a remote swing arm for it. but I can't seem to use it. I don't think I'm able to use it in this application. I don't believe. It's certainly not for any type of linear motion, unless they made a gigantic trolley system of some type. These are pretty easy to get linear trolleys because of the grooves. Make that pretty easy. You can use bearings. You could do them in a couple ways. You could have the bearings out here. You could have the bearings up here. You could have them all different configurations. Sometimes there's even bearings that fit right in the channel. Oh boy, what else? I don't know. I was going to videotape, but I was so tired. I don't know. I feel like crap lately. No energy. I think it's the weather. I don't know. I hate winter. Damn it. I'm gonna move down south, but I can't because I got too much shit. Garage sale of the century. So yeah, I may shoot another video today. I've never used a die. I've tapped a million things, but I've never actually used a die on anything before. So I thought I'd try and teach myself how to use one. Guess if need ever came up, need ever arose, I have a whole complete set and never once touched them. Genius. And I was going to do a helicoil video too, and I left it in the attic. I have a nice helicoil kit. I was going to do a video about those. Those are pretty interesting too. But anyway, a DIY CNC router, and you can use this for any type of those, like a CNC laser burner, maybe a CNC printer. I'm not 100% sure. I think you could. It'd have to be configured a little bit differently, but it's all pretty much the same components. I'm pretty sure electrically the brains are the same. I see more and more of it too. It's getting very big. 3D printing especially. I really have a thing for these little model airplanes, and they are laser cut. And I was like, I should buy one of those little laser burners. But it was a little more involved than I was, I wasn't thinking of everything as far as I'd just be down here burning laser cutting models. Well, it's not really, you can't just do that. You have to set up a really good exhaust. It's friggin' loud as hell. It's burning the wood, so it's really, really smoky. And I thought maybe the CNC router would probably be a better way to go for that, which is going to have its own issues. So back in the day, they would just make dies to punch those little model airplane kits. Let me see if I can find one to show you exactly what I mean. So the kit itself will come with the parts stamped. You can kind of cut them out. And I believe they're using, like a laser to do it. Whoopsie. Here's an example of it. So I was like, I just make my own. Like an idiot. So generally, these are pretty cool. These models are pretty cool because the instructions themselves, you will actually attach these pieces right to the instructions and build your plane that way, which is very straightforward. It makes it pretty easy. I mean, you can still hit snags and stuff. Unlike model boats, which are a pain in the butt, and the instructions always suck, but they're designed the same way. The boats nowadays are exactly like this, even the big expensive ones. So I'm like, I want to make my own, because what I like to do is take the original instructions that you glue your stuff down to, and then do the individual pieces at 150 times their size and make giant airplanes, you know what I mean? Make like real big ones with the instructions from the little guy that I just blew up in my printer one at a time. Each wing section, tails, everything, the stabilizer and the fuselage, everything blown up. Because it was so big, I couldn't just blow the whole thing up at once. I just did it in little pieces. And that's actually what's happening here. I think here's about the size of a normal rear stabilizer. My blown up one, but what a mess, jeez. Anyway, I don't know. A little intro to it. God knows how long it'll take. I know it's not going to be as easy as I'm thinking either. So this is not something I could just throw together because I've never really done it. But my first step was just trying to match things up, seeing what I can use. Because I kept getting stuck with like, oh, I need this size and I don't have it, or I got this and I don't have that. But this was all the stuff that is going to work. So I should be good to go pretty soon here. Encoders, I have a bunch of encoders for reading, position, stuff like that. Tons of structural building, just endless stuff for actually making it. I did come across these, which may help too. These are really cool. These are like these industrial sliders that have a linear bearing in these. Let's see if I can get you to see them. Oh, these ones don't. These ones have a brass bushing. I've never noticed that. So the ones I've seen have always had a linear bearing in them. That's the first time I've ever seen that. These have brass bushings. I don't believe it. I could have swore they had linear bearings. Why did I think that? I must have a different setup. Or the ones I've seen are different. I mean, where the hell do I have the other ones? Oh, I think they're in the garage, actually. I don't feel like going out there. There might be one in my crap pile under here. Here's one I really have linear bearings. Here's another example of this, but kind of handmade. And this one has linear bearings in it instead of brass. And bearings are so expensive, they'll always be looking for an alternative to not have to use them. But and usually when a bearing goes, it chowders up the shaft too. I think you'll see more and more of the white plastic Delrin stuff. This stuff is pretty slick and slippery and makes a very good friction fighter. Like it's like its own bearing, just like brass. Instead of an actual physical ball bearing, you can use a brass bushing or sleeve and get the same results. It's not as smooth, but it lasts pretty long, surprisingly long for what it's enduring and what it has to do. It's just actually surprising. Here's a real big one. You know, you would use these just like a bearing. It's pretty cool. It's really pretty neat. I have very little experience with brass, except for changing like parts or smoked fittings. The other day I cut a piece of brass. Oh, it's like cutting butter. I like brass. If you're like an artisan or you're making stuff or crafting, give brass a try. It's kind of a little bit pricey. It's not wicked expensive. And it's super friggin' easy to work with. Like way softer than aluminum, which is pretty easy, you know, in the machining world. Aluminum is fairly easy to work with. It's like just a step above the Delrin plastic. It's like lead. It's very, very, very soft. I used my jigsaw. I cut it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this stuff is cutting so easy. I cut it with this. A super old, years old blade too. The blade's been on there forever. I won't say years old, but it's got some use on it. It's got a couple teeth missing. It blew through the brass like nothing. And I was like, whoa, that was awesome. I actually have whole sheets of brass too, which I want to try and get clever and create some stuff with, but I don't know what, because I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Just give me a coloring book and put me in the corner. That's really where I belong. Anyway, have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon, hopefully. Moving forward. Bearing City. You never even could imagine how many bearings I have accumulated, because I have always wanted to have like 1 or 2 or 4 of every single bearing ever made, pretty much. And I was getting there. Believe me, I've got almost every bearing ever made. I really do. I've got tub after tub, big huge tote. It's just full of them. But anyway, hoarder. Bye bye.